Hey, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Jonathan Crow. I'm your host and I'm Director of Community here at Ninja One. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for so much for joining us. We have a really great discussion lined up for you today. Very excited to have my two fellow speakers. Let's start with you, Gabriel Sierra. Gabriel is Director of Growth and Strategic Partnerships at TechVera. Gabriel, thank you so much for taking time to join us.
Yeah, of course, of course. Nice video, everyone. Gabriel Sierra here, Director of Strategic Partnerships, TechVera. Been on the MSP space for over 10 years and also have a couple of hospitality ventures we're going to be chatting about as well.
Absolutely. We You have such good insights. Very excited to have you on board for this discussion. And of course, I'm excited to have you, Paul. Paul Redding, our head of MSP partnerships. Paul, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much. And Gabe, I'll echo Jonathan's sentiment. Thanks for joining us on this. I know this is going to be a really exciting session. You and I have had a lot of these conversations in, various events and things that we've done together over the last several months. And so I think, this is going to be really cool. Jonathan, thanks for putting this together.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us. As with all Ninja One webinars, well, I'll start off with the basics, right? Of course, this is going to be recorded. It'll be available via YouTube afterwards. And don't be shy. We want to hear from you all. So this is a webinar all about predictions. It's a new year. We're going to play the game where we look ahead and we say what's going to change, what's going to matter. We're going to be talking about the biggest opportunities that we think MSPs should be taking care of, and we want to hear your opinions on those too. So we're going to be launching some polls throughout the discussion, and really want to hear from you and get your thoughts and everything too. We can't get through this. If this was if anyone's playing the drinking game, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Yes, we're going to be talking a lot about AI, right? You just can't not. Um, and we're going to try to be more thoughtful about it, though. I mean, AI has been part of the critical what's happening, what's new, what does everyone need to be ready for and adapting for. It's been part of the discussion now for a few years. So what is new about this year? That's what a big chunk of what we're going to be getting into. And Gabe, let's start with you because you have a really interesting perspective here. And that's interesting. What makes it super interesting is that not only are you at TechVera, so you've got that MSP perspective, you know what's going on there at your MSP and working with clients, but you also are owner of a couple of passive income SMB companies. And so you're seeing the impact of technology and in particular AI, the
Yeah,
opportunity and kind of rollout that's happening there within those businesses. So you get to see it from kind of both sides of the table. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on?
yeah. So for the ones who don't know me, my journey started in hospitality. So I worked hospitality in my early 20s. That's what actually paid for college. And during that journey, I was lucky enough to be able to team up with some of my best friends in the industry and the hospitality and open a small bar in Brooklyn, New York, and then overseas ventured during the pandemic to open a glamping site. All of this obviously is the byproduct of the intersection and technology that is my philosophy. And after all these years in MSP, I joined TechVera with the mission of helping SMBs, which is the main ICP that we actually are going after. So medium-sized businesses, the small businesses are the foundation of the economy of this country. And I had been able to have this mission and to have an impact. Yeah, so from the hospitality perspective, one of the things is last year we talked about the concept of AI, the AI anxiety. What are we going to do with this from an MSP perspective? And we all trying to figure it out. What we do with this, all the vendors are just putting out new features, and we don't necessarily have the time all the time to kind of dive and learn all these different technologies. So while we were exploring all the different ways that we wanted to use AI at TechVera, right, from an MSP enterprise perspective, my passive income businesses were also clamoring, my business partners clamoring for help on the customer success side of things, customer service, the all the attention and the high touch points. These are high touch point industries. Glamping obviously is one of them as well, not different than running a restaurant. So um, it was out of necessity, right? So I although we didn't necessarily were actioning anything on the Takara side at the time for AI because we were, just having some sort of a AI aha moment and AI readiness. I was forced, and it was out of necessity. So I started learning and going into the AI journey and what is that I needed to do to equip my team and help them and provide a super, customer service. So we ended up implementing different technologies that are based on AI and agentics that are kind of triaging different aspects of the business. On the Glampit side, for example, we have an agentic that is chat-based and is qualifying our leads. So our reservations officers come in when we have the information we need to provide, the price of the stay. On the restaurant side, we're utilizing agentics to reply to Google reviews, the positive reviews that are 4 and 5 stars, and then we grabbing that data and put it in a database and analyzing that on a weekly basis to kind of put social media content. So it goes to our social media manager who bases a lot of the content that we're putting out, and it has worked really, really well for us in terms of brand awareness and exposure. So I think the real SMB problem right now is not that we don't have demand, it's just capacity, and we don't have the big budgets of big companies.
Wow, well put. And very curious. I mean, obviously, this has been a big point of discussion. If we think about the Gartner hype cycle, it seems like we have moved over into maybe there's a little bit of the backlash, the trough of disillusionment. Everyone started passing around that MIT report about, only, I don't know, 5% or something of AI initiatives have actually taken hold and are showing promise. There's a lot of people who are pretty primed to see, like, okay, there's a lot of hype. Where are the actual results, right? But at the same time, we had a discussion back in last October with some really large MSP folks and what, including the CEO of New Charter. And what was
Oh,
interesting was he pointed out, we've been the discussion around particularly security has been such a big growth lever for MSPs for the past few years. And what's a key difference here in these conversations is it's not something where the MSP has to go and really convince the clients, of the value of something. It's clients are actually wanting to see this. I mean, they hear the hype, they see the opportunity for it. They don't really know how to utilize this. And so they're actually coming and starting these conversations too. Seems like a really good thing to take advantage of. But then again, how many folks out there are, is this happening to you? Are your clients coming to you and asking you to take advantage of this? How many people are actually able to roll this stuff out in effective ways right now? Paul, I want to turn it over to you for a second and get your thoughts on that.
So I think this is a really interesting inflection point in terms of the MSP journey over the last, couple of decades. Most technology that we've been responsible for managing for our clients has really been on almost like from the client perspective. I don't care how it works. Make it work. Make it do this thing for me. I need to get back to running my business. Please don't talk to me about your technology. I hate it. Right? Like that's always been the take up to now. The difference here is that in this case, your client already has the most powerful technology that's ever existed, perhaps, in the palm of their hand. It's on their phone. There's free versions of this stuff out there. I mean, my dad is playing around with AI tools because he thinks it's funny to make these little videos, right? But
Right.
but what that means is that this time around, not only do we as MSPs have to get our heads around what it is and how to secure it or how to keep it functional, but we actually have to understand how to translate it to the client, how to show them the value that it can deliver, keep their feet out of the fire, right? Keep them from making mistakes that can make their business just exposed to the whole world to see out here. And all that is happening, to your point, Jonathan, not because the client says, I want to do this thing, make the computer work, because the client literally says, hey, I've got this technology. I want to make it work. Jonathan, Gabe, tell me what to do. And so now the MSP, instead of becoming a firefighter, which we were, or a security group, which we are now at this point, right? This time we have to become educators And that is a big leap from where we've been in the past. So I think a lot of MSPs that I talk to, and there's all different ranges, right, from the one man shop and all the way up to I don't know, Integris or SourcePass, right, hundreds and hundreds of employees. The guys that make up the vast majority of that demographic were not prepared for this on the front end. Nobody told us 5 years ago that we're going to have to become experts on prompts and AI and all this stuff. It just kind of like popped up in our lap. At least we saw security coming. So I think this time around, the industry may be a little less prepared than we were in the last couple of evolutions. I'm not going to say it's a terrifying place, but it's a place to give us all pause and say, okay, first of all, most of us probably need a partner. I don't know that we can all go this alone, right? And secondly, it's funny, you saw somebody popping out here saying just the word human.
Human.
AI is going to create jobs for human beings long before it wipes out all the jobs of the humans. Because we're going to have to start deciding, is a prompt engineer part of our new tooling package? Is an AI expert just something I'm supposed to have on staff? It's a very different mind. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, I think value, right? We've been selling on value. We've been selling cybersecurity. It's now a commodity. We had to pivot. And a lot of the MSPs out there, including ours, are in different journeys, different sizes. You have the break and fixes, as you were mentioning, that you have the Lyras of the world, and you have us. I think similarly to how my partners and some of our customers on the hospitality passive income side came and said, "Hey, I need help on this." Our customers are already asking for this. They're looking up to us to be the experts. We spend a lot of time with them on QBRs and a lot of different touch points throughout the year. And there are different ways how we can approach this as MSPs. I don't think that, as always, we're going to be expected to do everything and know everything. I think just being transparent with our customers and walking that journey with them is part of the equation. But most importantly, I think, is having a path internally to look inward and think, where can I automate today my business? Who can I partner with? Who is the vendor that is going to be right for me today and in 5 years on this AI journey? And, at a very short term, is all the takeaways and the problems that you're going to be solving with AI internally, as you having a human in the loop always, is going to give you the best use case and, to an extent, the framework that you're going to be utilizing to go to your clients. And you will have the authority and the knowledge to say, "Hey, I had this problem that most likely you have the same problem. I was able to, automate it to an extent and gain a lot of productivity." I believe that that is one of the approaches. The other one is just have a basic standard of AI readiness for your customer cohort. If you are into cybersecurity and you know the risk of any of the end users uploading data into free ChatGPT plans, then it is time for you to come and expose all this risk to your clients and ensure that you, at the very least, have an AI readiness package that can help them to not remove AI from all the endpoints and the platform and the day-to-day, to actually roll it out in a way that is secure and it has governance on it, right? So I think that's a big point that we're trying to do with our customers. The employees of our customers and our employees are going to use AI, and it will be a very serious mistake to roll it back and lock it down, because it is going to put our culture and our employees at a disadvantage. So I think from a governance perspective, it is very important that, at the very least, if we're not there yet on automating and implementing, at least on securing and having a framework for AI readiness is very important.
You
Man,
know,
there's a lot to unpack there. Great points, Gabe. Paul, you were going to say something. Go
yeah,
ahead.
it's funny. Gabe, when you talked about the security of that, when you talk about the options to lock it down, I came up with two immediate thoughts. One of them is, succinctly put, we're not putting this cat back in the bag. This is out. It's done. We're not avoiding this. It's not the thing where we can push it off for years and years. In some cases, I know I'm old. The cloud was kind of that way for a while. Like there was a resistance to it. You said, "Oh, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it." We got dragged kicking and screaming into that world in many cases. Nope. It's done. It's here. It's very real. We went, if you think about it, 2 years ago, if I got an email or one of my employees sent me something and I thought it was written by AI, that was a ding on them. That was like, oh, man, this guy's like using AI. It's so lazy. Now, if you're not using AI, you've lost your mind. You don't understand what's going on. If you don't have some tool out there somewhere that is helping make your day to day better, like I hardly write emails anymore, right? You pick it up, you have AI, you have Copilot read it to you, you give a 4 or 5 sentence response, and it reads like a perfectly well written business email. And I mean, if I'm doing what I do for a living, am I really doing any good if I want to stop and take 10 minutes to write that same email? No, not at all. However, the security piece and the locking it down piece and the idea that with Spider-Man, right, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm starting to hear words like private cloud, hosted LLM. I've even heard on-prem models. I was actually out it was a new charter company that was out doing a customer event with them, and one of their leadership guys was talking to me about the idea of boxes on site that will physically host this LLM in these products, because people are going to want to lock this down at a different level. And when you start getting into compliance and cybersecurity, you and I were talking about HIPAA. I mean, when you start hitting those compliance standards, it's going to be extremely difficult to secure a public LLM and the data that you put into it under CMMC, HIPAA, ISO, the SMB, any of these things. So what do you think? I mean, are we going to head back to a place where part of this package may be the MSP even hosting some of this stuff for their clients, like old school?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point because we have we were all rushing to get to the cloud. And all of a sudden everybody's like, wait a second, I have these models and I'm HIPAA compliant. How do I ensure that all this is safe and secure, right? What I have seen, especially for HIPAA compliant clients and some MIPs out there, and colleagues that I speak at different conferences, obviously, is they starting off by utilizing virtual private servers, right? And it is actually the opposite that we were trying to do as a cloud provider, as putting you in the cloud, but it's kind of similar to what the private cloud is for the government, right? So I do believe that as this highly regulated industries are completely disrupted with AI, there's going to be a whole subsegment of infrastructure that will cater to this kind of compliance. And there will be some companies that will want to host their own VPS servers and train their own models. But it's obviously, it is going to take a lot of resources, technical resources, and obviously computer resources to do that as we move forward. And I believe that it is something that is extremely important, especially in the space that we are, because we have to be able to have some sort of check controls in place to ensure that we're not jeopardizing all the work that we have been doing throughout the years in security and everything we've been working towards in terms of securing our customers as well. And that is, and love the chat activity right now. I really
Yeah.
love what Jerome Powell say about the MIP. If you don't become an MIP or a similar model, it is going to be very hard for you to survive, because there are going to be teams half the size or maybe a quarter of the size of your current team that are going to be able to deliver that service with automation. Again, the human in the loop is a concept that we lead with, right? Going back to my examples of automations in my side businesses, we're qualifying leads. They're coming in via different mediums, chat, voice, whatnot. But we then have a human giving the quote, right? We just ensuring that there's that high touch. We do then have that human picking up the phone and saying, I have your information, here's your quote. So, and it will be good if Jonathan, you want to venture into define the MIP stand for.
I that's
We
what
have a couple.
I thank you. I wanted to jump at this. Jared's comment here is great because it gets to the heart of something that I really wanted to ask you both and the audience. So they say, history doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes. This totally reminds me of the security push. And I guess my counter to this, well, first of all, let's define it. So MIP, that Jared brings up, it's managed intelligence providers. So really, I mean, what's the key if you're talking about AI at all? Really is on data, right? And so being able to collect data, govern that data, really be the facilitator of all that. I mean, that's kind of being the MIP, right? So shifting away from just you're providing a help desk into you're really establishing the ability for people to leverage their data with AI and agentic services. But my question is, with security, we got to the point where everyone was promoting this so much of like, there's a huge opportunity here. This is where the profits are. This is what investors want to see. This will help your valuations, all those things. The question kind of came up, well, is every MSP supposed to be an MSSP now? And my question is now the same to you with this. So is everyone supposed to now pivot into being an MIP or developing true expertise on this? Or, I mean, we look around now, we don't see a lot. I mean, yes, there was a huge boom in MSSP work, but those were experts. They had to invest a lot. Not every MSP took that transition, and not every MSP decided it was worth it, right? Or they could do that. Are we going to see the same thing here where you're going to end up partnering with the right people?
So, it's funny. Ever since I was an MSP, and I mean, you got to think, I've been out of that since what, like 2019. We have been trying to get away from the terminology MSP almost from the time that we adopted it. Somewhere around the late, mid 2000s, like late to, 2010s or 20 teens, I think we started to realize that there's a commoditization that's happening in this industry. And to the customer, in a lot of cases, all MSPs look alike. And so you wanted to differentiate yourself by saying, kind of come up with a different term. When I was around, people were trying to say you were going to become a business solution provider. That was one, a BSP. I've heard 6 different acronyms thrown out there. And when I first heard MIP, I think Rob Ray was the first person I heard say MIP. And, they kept trying to use that term. And at first, I'm going to tell you, I was short-sighted. I really didn't think, I thought this was another, term for us that's just kind of go by the wayside. I actually said to Rob, stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch is not going to happen, right? But the reality is, I think that this time around, the MSP that really adopts this really goes out there, gets a deep understanding of it, and starts bringing this stuff into their client environments will be a different animal than everyone else around them. It's not just a slightly different deliverable. It's not an MSP that now has a security focus. It is a shift in business models, because something that Gabe said earlier, and in this whole conversation that really started the whole thing off, is why is Gabe pushing all this stuff into his own client environments? Because as a small business owner, he is looking inside and going, this is inefficient. There's got to be a better way. If Gabe's IT provider, if that MSP walked into him tomorrow as that business owner and said, Gabe, what are the top 5 problems that you have in your business? I don't want to hear about technology unless that's in your top 5 problems. I want to know, what are the biggest roadblocks to day-to-day success for you? When you understand that from a customer perspective, and to Gabe's point again, you have already inboarded this stuff. You've already brought it into your business. You've already looked at your own efficiencies. You know what it's done for you. It's much easier to turn around and help that customer navigate that and say, well, listen, I mean, because now TechVera is totally capable of saying, well, I mean, here's the reality. Your phone calls take too long. The first steps in triage are always too much. We have the same problem in help desk that you have at your factory, and you have at your real estate company, and you have at your dental office, right? It's all the same problem. It's congestion. It's too many human touches. So I think, yes, MIP will happen. I give Rob his credit and PAX 8 for kind of trying to throw this out there. Yes, I think MIP will happen. Unfortunately, I don't think every single MSP out there is ready to make that transition. And so they're going to need to partner with either another MIP or a very similar vendor or consultant.
I've got
Yeah,
a poll
absolutely.
that we launched that showing the results here, and we asked, how many are currently offering some AI specific services, right? Low number, although I think what's important here is the just started off in process of rolling out 21%. No, but it's planned 42. So I mean, to these points, maybe what you're telling us in the audience here is that you're hearing these things too. You're having the same conversation that Gabe is having with internally with his businesses too, where people see the need for it. I guess my question is, does that mean this is the year that everyone's got everyone has the Copilot license? Are we actually going to utilize them? I mean, I see, like, going back to that point about the hype and people being kind of overprescribed, or saying AI is really a solution looking for a problem. Like, is that true? Well, I guess aren't MSPs positionally, like, potentially positioned to be able to be the ones who help, like, point out, here are the actual use cases. We're going to work through that with you. We're going to figure out how to actually get value from this. It seems like that they can position themselves as a really good part of that equation. And Gabe, you were mentioning that you shared what you were building with the hotel, with a dentist who said basically,
Yeah.
yes, sign me up.
He,
So my
he
question
literally
is,
wanted to give me money right on the spot. Yeah, so I was getting dental work about 3 weeks ago, and we are just chatting about he knows that I work in technology, and we chatted about the different things that we're implementing in the side businesses, and also we talked about how at TechVera we repricing and repackaging. That is we are on the same wavelength as the audience right now. We are in the final stages of rolling out a new package. It is we send out surveys to a lot of our customer clients, and they are extremely interested on getting help with AI, like the dentist. And you know, within 2 days, I was able to just spin off a prototype of a agentic for after hour support and show it to him, and he was so delighted. And, he told me how many times he has missed a lot of leads, And there's a theme here. I think going back to that question as well in the timeline and the MIP, we have MIP was introduced last year, right? We already know where. We already know that a lot of us, it was the first time, including myself and Paul. And across all the SMBs and, all the MSP events, I think that customers are going to expect instant everything, right? But the budgets are not getting any bigger for us. So we are going to be competing against companies that have bigger teams, and the customers are going to be judging us by the same response times that these companies are going to achieve by putting some form of shape of AI in it. Um, this year, perhaps, is going to be the year on the MSP space where we start seeing a lot of us really crafting this V1 framework that will help us to one generate more leads, because everybody's uh, ChatGPT and what is the MIP provider around that area, or the SEOs. It's a source of a lot of leads. And also, I think it will be a good opportunity from a professional service perspective. If you don't have a subscribed user and you provide a professional service and you create some sort of AI automation for a business, even if it's the more simplistic one where you're not going to make a lot of money to begin with, that is an in for you to go in and eventually have a relationship with that now customer and turn that into a subscribed user.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it seems like a great potential, not just for current customers, obviously, but potential new lands too for prospects. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, as you showed with the dentist, and I guess my point too is that if you're not, everyone's probably sick of hearing this, but if you're not having these conversations, then someone will, right? And so if you're
Yeah,
not
like a
ahead of
patient
it,
at the dentist.
right?
Your patient, right?
Right. You're like, they're going to be getting this from someone. Shouldn't it be you? And that way you can make sure that you're not only getting the money for it, but you're also doing it the right way. So I've got another poll that I wanted to launch just to get a baseline from everybody. This goes back to when we think about the opportunities, and this webinar is titled Growth Hacks, right? So obviously we're thinking about, okay, how are we going to actually leverage the AI opportunity? And Gabe, you're talking about doing things in a few ways, as simple as AI readiness, giving that as a package, to potentially offering something more. I think Peter in the comments called out VCIO, right? And so having
Mhm.
that part of, as we're talking about your roadmap and looking into the opportunities, how can these tools create real efficiencies and real outcomes? Let's talk about that. The other opportunity that you mentioned, Gabe, earlier on was using this at your own MSP. And so that way you're becoming an expert in it. You're actually doing the process optimization. So curious how many people out there have successfully done this at their MSP and results again. Yeah, we were seeing about 15% for yes, uh, with actual measurable results. Another 15 yes, results kind of like mixed or unclear. Just started off. Another 15. The vast majority, no, but planning to do it. So really, again, this year being maybe this is the year where we've seen the hype, we've been experimenting, we've been making the funny videos, Paul, but like this is the year where we actually put this stuff to work.
Well, one thing I'll notice about the poll there, if you look at the numbers that we're seeing, so the numbers for no, but it's planned to are almost identical internally and externally. It's like I'm going to guess that the same 42% that said no, I haven't done it with my customer, but I probably should, are saying the same thing right here. No, I haven't done it internally, but I probably should. And I think that's interesting because what it tells us is A, we don't know where to start. I would guess that a lot of the people that are in that 42% right there, the reason they haven't started on the customer side is because they haven't started on their side. To me, I think, Gabe, you said it best. If you're looking for a roadmap and you're looking for a plan, this one starts at home. This one starts in your own organization, in your own operating day-to-day, life, because until you can know what it's done to benefit you, I don't think you're in a position to take it downstream to your customer. The other thing that I think is interesting about this poll is about 15%. If you look at 13% here and like 18% on the last one, about 15% of these people are saying, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not bringing it internally. I'm not bringing it to my client. And I don't believe that that's short-sighted. I think that there is real fear and real concern and real trepidation here. And as a former MSP myself, I can tell you the relationship with my clients was so important to me. Not failing them, not putting them in a bad position, and never ever looking like stupid or like I don't know what I'm doing. Always being that, kind of expert and guide for them. So I think that the people here that are saying, no, I haven't done it internally, and no, I haven't done it for my customer are the same. And I think the ones that are saying, no, I want to, but I haven't, I think it's all the same people. So you've got damn near 60% of people here that are saying either I don't know where to start or I'm not touching this thing. And that tells you where we are at adoption.
Brings up a great segue into this next poll. Thanks everybody for taking these, by the way. This is really interesting.
Super helpful.
So, do you think your clients are assuming that your MSP is responsible for managing AI utilization and that you're inheriting that risk? It's the age old like, oh, I thought you were doing this for me already.
I
I
mean,
love the I really have not.
I think that's a problem in general is because clients don't understand what the MSP actually does. No, and they're not going back and they're reading their terms and conditions and looking at their SLAs. We all know their contract gets lost the minute that they sign it, right? So I think that, in my opinion, and Gabe, I'm curious what you think. I think the answer to this is yes. I think the client thinks you're responsible for it because the average customer thinks this is just more computer stuff. And you, as the MSP, in like computer stuff, what you do. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, the answer that we have had across the board, and obviously all the inquiries that are coming from our customer base are we are responsible to educate them. Is coming up on QBRs, is coming up on I am evaluating this AI tool. Somebody forwards that email, CEO forwards the email to us and say, can you guys look into this and tell me this is something I can implement? Again, customers don't ever go back to your scope of support. And I think this is an opportunity that will a lot of MSPs should capitalize on and be very open and very transparent and begin with the basics, right? I think AI is in a platform shift. I think it's more of a workflow shift. There's a constant manual task that the business owner sees constantly. They trying to implement something with AI to make it work, to make it more efficient. And I think we MSPs, we don't need to think about AI as a platform. We need to think about AI as a workflow because when you pick something that is extremely frustrating for your customer, that is repetitive, and you fix it, even if it's a small win, this compounds. And that is where I think we're going to start this year. We're going to start with small wins. We're going to start with things that will compound on top of each other, and that will yield a big transformation up to the next couple of years for our customers. But we do have to start somewhere, and obviously, the we know as providers what happens when we start saying no many times to our customers. They're just going to go and find a different provider who is more open about talking these challenges. Sometimes the customers just banter and they just want to communicate what they frustrated and they just want to expose that to you. And you don't have to have the immediate solution, but you do have to be open to connect with them, to hear them out. Because at the end of the day, if you start if you start from within and you already automated everything we said you could automate, then your your frontliners, your frontline employees will have more time to be elevated, to focus on things that will foster a better relationship with your customers. And I think that's the power of AI in business like ours, the ability to enable a quote unquote level one engineer and turn it into a level two, level three, because the triage has been automated, right? So definitely something that we need to look as an opportunity more than a challenge.
Great
There's a
points,
comment
Gabe.
over there that I think was dead on. Jared said the average customer thinks you're responsible when their car won't start. I'll tell you something that I've always said to MSPs is you get none of the credit and all of the blame. So you're not going to get credit for becoming this genius for them overnight. They're not going to see the amount of work that you've had to put into this to figure out how this stuff works. But the minute that this stuff screws up, the minute that there's a problem with this, they're going to blame you. And the minute that, that you, Gabriel, show up at some MSP's customer trying to talk to them about your services and you have an AI package that includes education, includes enablement, includes workflow optimization, the other one looks like they're lacking. So whether or not you want to adopt it, to your point, I think you're right. This is coming for you. And so you have to figure out if it's not you, then you're going to have to be ready to go get them a partner to do that for them because they're going to need help and they're going to look outside for it.
We have
Yeah.
another
If
really. Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
No, it's just the classic phrase, right? If you don't handle your business will handle you.
That's right.
We had a really great comment here from Brian, and he says we needed another option on that poll because it goes even further to the point, the issue of, well, now I've got ChatGPT. What do I need you for? That can help. I have a superpower Google that can solve all my issues for me. He says it's not until you get into AI plus automation that the client will seek help building custom agents, for example. So let's pivot a little bit into action item suggestions, the opportunity. So obviously I think we're all kind of circling around, yes, we need to be having these conversations with clients, and there's a lot of potential opportunity for this year to really grow and really develop some offerings, get sticky, just like what we saw with the security rush, right? But Sean brings up a good point, and this is relevant for folks who are co-managed, right? Sometimes the people that you're working with, you're not working with the right decision makers who are making those decisions about business process optimization. So I guess, Gabe, when you're thinking about pivoting or offering some additional services, maybe this does tie in with VCIO, but getting more into the consultative part, being that trusted advisor, right? Do you have any advice for how people manage to pivot into that? Because I can imagine, especially if you've got a client that's been working with you for years, all of a sudden you offering this is a little bit of a new thing. It can be different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to start with the basics, right? Um, there is definitely AI anxiety on both ends. On the leadership team, so many MSPs that want to protect their customers and shield them. And then on the other side, the point of context, the CFOs that are our clients, either not wanting to know anything about AI. Enablement is the number one recommendation. having casual chats and office hours with your customers about AI in general, educating the bottom line, sending some sort of newsletter, whatever touch point you have, whether it is a newsletter that you send to your customers, a QBR that is facilitated by a VCIO. I think you just have to start the conversation about AI because when you start feeding the topic to decision makers, and this happens to me a lot when we prospecting, we start talking about AI, and a lot of people confuse automation and AI, right? And this is a lot of people need automation in certain business operations, and not necessarily AI, but they call it AI. And I think once you start listening and you start on that topic of like, what is the tool stack that you're playing with in AI, and they start talking to you about it, then you start getting additional intel that then you can turn into an insight for them and say, okay, do you know if your employees are using ChatGPT free to upload the spreadsheets of your account payables, right? That is an eye-opening moment for a lot of decision makers, and they start paying attention then, right? So lots of open conversations about the AI will yield a lot of tidbits that you will then be able to drill in it and have that more level conversation that would be relatable to the decision makers. Because right now, the older decision makers, like a lot of us in the MSP spaces, there's so many tools and it's going so fast, and we don't know how to implement it. We had to play with it, and I think is again, AI efficiencies compound. And even if it's as simple as somebody open a ticket and you have an automation that it is rerouting internally on your PSA from the MSP perspective, that is going to compound over time. Or if you have somebody landing on your web page and fill out this form and having an agenti like doing an immediate call back for additional information that then you can have a summary of it, and then your sales team is better equipped to have a more educated conversation with that prospect, that's another win. And that typically doesn't take, especially for us, the geeks and the nerds of the world on the MSP side, we love that kind of stuff, right? And I think it's a great opportunity for us to showcase all the skill sets that we have. So enablement and having an open conversation about it, and then coming back with a couple of action items because that will give you a lot of the need and the context.
It sounds like, we're going back to the beginning where you're talking about the importance of really implementing this. People recommend this in the chat too. You really got to know the tools before you start selling them. But another key part of that is that ideally you're finding those efficiencies within your own company then, and you're able to then, the promise, of course, the promise for RMM too was, your tier one techs are going to be able to have free time. They're going to be able to level up to tier two techs. Is the answer too that maybe, we're looking at some of the other comments where, okay, we're going to need AI consultants and you're going to need all these people. Is one of the answers to, well, how are you going to find time for investing in this, and how are you going to find time to have people who are able to talk competently to clients about this stuff? Is that all part of it? You invest in the tools, you hopefully gain the efficiencies, and you're able to kind of redistribute your staff a bit.
I think the big warning is the human has to stay in the loop, right? And the goal isn't automation everywhere. I think the goal is just clarity, guardrails, and trust. And it is one of the things that we have to keep in mind. If you're small enough and you feel that you cannot build this in-house, partner. There's many MSPs and there's many businesses out there. Partner with your vendors. Our vendors are putting a lot of features that are related with AI, and these are things that you're already paying for. When we having conversations with our current customers, especially the ones that are Microsoft heavy, we're talking about what they already have, Copilot chat. How do we secure it? Right? How do we prevent your employees from using the free version of ChatGPT and instead use this Copilot version that will have a lot of the paper trail on it, and it will be more secure and have that governance element that we need to abide by.
So I think we're at 45 minutes here, Paul and Gabe. Let's bring this one home. If we let's fulfill the promise of the title. not just predictions, but growth hacks too, growth opportunities. If you had to sum up things, we've talked a lot about AI. This you can include stuff that's not totally AI focused here if you want to, but if you had to sum it up in terms of recommendations around really key opportunities for a big amount of growth this year, what would you say? What would you point people to?
Big opportunity is look internally, vet the tools that you're going to be using. Take a very careful look at how you're running your day to day as an MSP, as a business. Speak with middle management and their pain points. Understand where the repetitive task is, where the bottlenecks are coming. Is it when 20 customers are calling you and you only have four dispatchers? Um, Set the goal to automate some of them and measure what the impact is. If this for any reason helps and displaces a human, right? Because there's that fear, elevate the human, put it in a more meaningful work. AI handles the repetitive, humans handle the meaningful. I think that is one of the things, and you just have to start with speed wins. You start with one workflow. Protect your team's time, because we still have to deliver a service. We have to do all of this and explore and incubate and have this lab while we still have to deliver and put out fires. So start with one workflow and build it from there as you protect the time of your team and the experience, the good experience that you want to provide to your clients.
Great suggestions. How about you, Paul?
I'll drop on the backs of that. I think that this year really begins a period of great education in the channel. It's education internally about how you should be running and optimizing your own business, the tool and technology, and the things that you can do and bring in internally. It's education for your client around the technology that will help them, the risks versus rewards, and how to integrate these things into their business. And ultimately, if you're looking for the opportunity, I think there's some really good ideas here. ERP builds and displacement. Somebody's talking about building MIP and RAGs. I'll tell you one that I've always felt pretty strongly about is vertical specialization builds experts. And so if you can look at your client base and say, okay, what cohorts do these guys go into? In my case, I was really into medical. I was really into manufacturing. I didn't start out chasing that. I realized one day looking at my portfolio, crap, I've got like mostly factories and fabricators and doctors, right? So when I thought back on it, it meant, what did I really know about? Well, man, I can talk all day long about ERPs and factory protocols and lathes and all these things. So that makes me an expert in their industry in the same way that I became an expert in healthcare. So when we talk about education, whether it's around AI, whether it's around technology tools outside of AI, automations, get into your client's business, understand their day to day. And if you have 50 clients and 25 of them are all in the same industry, whether you tell me you're vertically focused or not, there is a vertical pocket right there. Dive in, educate yourself time after time on the things that most of your clients can improve all at the same time. So the ERP builds, absolutely. Get into manufacturing, right? Get into finance, get into these businesses and be able to talk to them about their business, not about their technology, but about the day-to-day things that truly keep them awake at night, and know what your customers' plans are for succession, for retirement. Know what your customer is looking for 5 years down the road, so the bus doesn't hit you when it gets here, right? I think that is really, really, really important.
Yeah, I think that there's the with all this development, right? It's a really exciting time. It's a very anxious time because there's a lot changing. There's the hype, there's people talking about the potential job loss and everything, but it's also an exciting time in that the bar is lowering in terms of what small teams are capable of doing. Brian brings up a good point too, that there's developers out there. I mean, what you would previously need whole teams of people, of experts to do, you can do with a lot less now. And I think with that in mind, the differentiator really comes back to something this has always been the case, right? It's not about necessarily the tech you're able to roll out. It's knowing the right problems and solutions that can create the outcomes that your clients want. So I totally agree with you, Paul. I mean, knowing, taking this year to really start changing those discussions that you're having, the types of conversations you're having with clients, getting into, where, how do you make money? What are the bottlenecks? How can we make things more efficient? And then the tech will follow. I mean, it's going to, like you pointed out, Gabe, this isn't going back. It's only going to become more and more efficient. But that need to really understand a business and build those relationships, that's not going to go away.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, everybody, I think that's it for us. We do have a prize to announce. JP, I think you were going to come on and announce our winner for the prize. I'm not sure what we're giving away, actually. So this will be a surprise to me. Matt Horning.
We'll see if you won, Matt. I see the chat going.
Oh, JP texted me and he said, "I'm so sorry, Matt. Matt, we'll get you something. Don't worry." Grace Eduardo. Congratulations. Oh. You won. What did you win, JP? That's me. AirPods. Sweet. Okay,
there
cool.
You go.
So you'll get the AirPods. Luke is asking for a Ninja mug. I think we do have a few of those. Listen, I'm gonna go back to the chat.
I thought we were already friends. Matt, come on, man. I thought we were already friends.
We'll get you guys some things. Hey, thank you everybody for joining us. Gabe, thank you so much. Paul,
thank you for having me, guys. This has been super
fun. Really appreciate you, man. John, thanks for putting this together. It's fabulous. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. See you on LinkedIn.
We'll see you online.
Bye-bye.